Hello, good evening. My name is Ezra Levant. You're watching the Rebel Media's Election Night Special, live from the heart of Manchester in the United Kingdom. Today is the day that the United Kingdom's choices for 73 members of the European Parliament will be revealed. And the candidate that is of most interest to us today is our old friend Tommy Robinson, a former Rebel employee who was a journalist and has an interesting political career, has thrown his hat into the ring in Northwest England as an independent. We have so much to talk about. We'll be with you until midnight UK time. As you can see, it's a super chat on YouTube. We'll talk more about that later. But before I go on any further, let me introduce to you our newest colleague at the Rebel, someone who has done an outstanding job of reporting from the campaign trail, our friend Jessica. Nice to see you in person. I've been following your exploits on YouTube.
Yeah, it's great to be here. We're here in Manchester, which is starting to feel like my home away from home. I've been getting such a great welcome here. I've been following Tommy's campaign for 2 weeks now, and it's been a pleasure.
Well, it's been a pleasure for us as viewers, and I know I'm speaking for millions when I say that, because in fact, your videos cumulatively have been seen by nearly 3 million people. And so I believe that your reportage with the Rebel has actually been the number one source of information for a lot of Brits and fans of Tommy around the world who simply couldn't rely on the mainstream media. Jessica, we're going to come back to you for a lot more, but first let me tell our viewers a little bit more about the format that we have here today. We are live streaming this from Manchester, and it's what Google calls a super chat. As you can see on the right-hand side of the screen is real-time comments from you, Tommy's fan base, supporters, and the odd hater who can't get enough of the man himself from around the world. And the super chat function, that's something that Google invented, and we love it because for a few dollars or a few quid or even a few Mexican pesos, if you chip in a few bucks, your comment is put in a bright highlighted color. And I'll be able to spot it out of the corner of my eye, and I'll do my best to refer to it. And the good news is that Google shares 70% of those funds with us here at the Rebel. So it helps to defray our costs, especially since Google has demonetized so many videos of conservatives. And that's one of the themes that we'll get into tonight, how the tech giants have deplatformed conservatives and Tommy Robinson in particular. But before we get into the heart of the matter, I just want to go back to Jessica, who has been on the ground with Tommy for 2 weeks. Now, Jessica, you're a student journalist in Canada. You did great journalism back home, but that was home. Mm-hmm. This was a foreign country for you, not just a political campaign, but there was violence on the campaign trail. And I don't mean just milkshaking. There was rioters in Oldham. Justin, back in Toronto, play some B-roll of the Oldham riots. Jessica, can you tell us a little bit about what happened in that town?
Well, that was something I don't think anyone was really expecting. It seemed like a planned attack. This didn't seem like a regular protest. When we first saw the rioters coming, the image in the sky looking up, if you didn't know those were eggs in the sky, the amount of eggs that were filling the sky, it was terrifying. Just it was completely surreal. Like I said, it was something planned. It wasn't just an average protest going to a regular political rally.
You know, you mentioned eggs, and I understand that you yourself were the target of some egg throwing. Eggs is the least of it. We're showing you on the screen right now some footage filmed by a self-styled gang called the Muslim Defense League. You can see they're wearing masks, balaclavas. They actually threw bricks, they threw rocks, they threw bottles. But the absurd thing, and you can see this in the footage that we've taken from a video that Tommy put together, they were escorted to the Tommy Robinson campaign event where there were men, women, and children. You can see it there. You see that there in the red circle? Escorted to the event by police. Jessica, that's crazy.
Yeah, we were completely shocked, especially when the police were trying to separate the two groups. They were pushing back Tommy's group, and it seemed like they were kind of letting the gang get closer and closer to the rally.
It's absurd. That is, the police were assisting the riot. I want to show one more clip because, I grew up in Canada where we respect police. Mm-hmm. Police are your friend. You go to the police if you're in trouble. And the actions of the police in the UK in this campaign scare me, mainly because they show me my worldview just doesn't hold in the UK. I want to show a clip of you trying to just do basic journalism, trying to talk to the anti-Tommy activists, and the police wouldn't even let you do some journalism. Here's a clip of this from, this is, I believe, from Carlisle. Let's take a look.
Sorry? Can you just go back past the cordon of officers for me, please?
Can I talk to the protesters?
No, from behind the colleagues you can, yeah.
But I can't ask them a question?
From behind my colleagues there you can, yeah. We're just keeping the groups separately to prevent any issues.
I wouldn't be able to catch the audio from so far away.
Right, well, that's what we're doing. So if you can just go back behind my colleagues for me.
So I can't talk to the protesters?
Them from there, yeah. It's not fair to antagonise people from each side, so we're not letting them past us and we're not letting you past them. That's just
I'm not taking any sides. I'm talking to everyone around
I'm not suggesting you are. I'm just asking if you go past my colleagues. Okay.
Thanks.
So strange to me. The police won't let you, a professional woman doing reporting, clearly no threat to anyone. They won't let you do journalism, but they literally escorted a gang of more than 100 mask-wearing men with bricks to attack. What do you make of that? I mean, you're from Canada like I am. We love the Mounties. They're our national symbol. How did this strike you?
Well, you can even see in the clip, I look very confused because I wasn't understanding what she meant, that I can talk to the protesters, but from so far away that I would have to yell at them. I wasn't going to yell my questions at a group of people. That's completely uncivil. Yeah. I didn't understand the purpose of that. Well, I do understand she just wanted to stop the conversation. That's what it was.
Well, I think she wanted to stop anyone she felt was even associated with Tommy. I want to show one last clip, and then I want to get back to the... I want to bring up to speed our viewers. Looks like we've got over 6,000 Tommy supporters from around the world watching. Welcome again. And for those who are just joining us, Jessica S., our student journalist, who we threw you into the deep end.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't even fair, but I knew you could do it. I knew you could do it, and you did have a security guard with you the whole time. Yep. Was that necessary?
Definitely. It was definitely necessary. I mean, he was always by my side, and you can see in my videos, there's grown men and women almost looking like they want to attack me just for asking them a simple question. Mm-hmm. So having him there by my side was definitely... I needed that for sure.
I'm very glad, because we crowdfunded that from our viewers. And whenever you incur a big expense like that, you say, do we need it? Well, you absolutely need it. And better to have a security guard you don't need than not have one when you do need it. And I want to show the least violent Antifa you came against. It's actually an old man, but he still couldn't keep his civil tongue in his mouth. I just want to show one more clip, and this is, I forget what town this was in, where the police let you talk to I think this was in Haywood. The police let you talk to the haters, and I have to say, you're polite, you're Canadian, you're best foot forward, hail fellow well met, as they say. And this guy was just spitting bullets. Remember this? Take a look.
Anyway, I don't really want to...
Can I ask why you're protesting today?
No, you've already had that answer. I don't think you need any more information or material. I think you should leave now. You should leave.
Why don't you fuck off? No. Go on. Do one.
No, I'm not going to do it.
Go away.
I just went over to the other side to ask some very simple questions.
I think he's your perfect Labour Party voter. All right. How would you say the ordinary Brit in the Northwest was? Because I don't want to conflate professional protesters, Antifa, the paid Soros-backed Hope Not Hate troublemakers, or even that Muslim Defense League. I want to acknowledge that that's not really your average Brit. Am I right?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you can clearly see those are paid protesters. All their signs are professional and look the same everywhere you go, every protest. But talking to Tommy's crowd, Tommy's supporters, these are just average, everyday people that actually care about their country and are afraid of the direction it's going. And it's actually so inspiring to see, because they're actually taking a stand. They're not hiding the fact that they support Tommy Robinson. They are just average people with real jobs, working hard, with families to feed. And they have been so positive and have had such a warm welcome from their side, and it's a little bit sad because they were so grateful that I was here doing what a regular journalist should be doing.
It's sort of crazy, man. I just flew in this morning, actually, from Toronto. You came in from Toronto a few weeks ago. Avi Yamini, a great friend and ally of Tommy, he schleps all the way from Melbourne, Australia. That's a 24-hour flight. And I keep turning it over in my head how weird it is that Brits need foreign reporters to call it like it is, because I think the domestic media party, as I call it here in Britain, they're not even reporters. Like, you can be reporters with a slant. You report the facts and say, well, here's the facts about Tommy, but I hate him. Okay, fine, fair play. But they don't even report the facts.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never seen a press corps as sick, as hostile. I mean, even if you look at state broadcasters like RT, that's Putin's state broadcaster, or TWT, that's Erdogan's state broadcaster, they are not as insane as the British media are towards Tommy. That's my view. I've seen them in 10 events now.
Yeah. Well, even there's a lot of comparison with Tommy Robinson and Donald Trump, the way he was portrayed in the media, and that's not even the same level as the censoring that Tommy is getting and the spin and outright just lies that the media is spreading about him.
Well, listen, Jessica, it's great to see you. I have been reading some of the many thousands of comments your videos have received, and I think that it's been overwhelmingly positive. In fact, I even saw the odd marriage proposal for you, so I think you're well loved here in the UK, and congratulations for a job well done. All right, well, it's 9/11 in Manchester, which means it's 4/11 on the east coast of North America. We now have over 7,000 folks watching. I just want to give you a little bit more of a backgrounder, and then we're going to bring in the candidate himself. Just a recap for those who have just joined us. We're going to have this YouTube live stream all night until probably around midnight Manchester time, which is 7 p.m. on the east coast of North America. Who knows? If there's some spectacular news, we might keep going a little bit later. The format, as you can see, is the YouTube Super Chat. And I will do my best to read some of those Super Chats because I want to let you know that I'm grateful to you for chipping in. Luckily, Google shares 70% of those funds with us, which we'll use to defray the cost of this live stream. We've got cameras, the room, the airfare for us to get here, stuff like that. So I'm just going to read a few of these super chats, and we're going to be a little bit informal tonight. So I'm going to be checking my phone for the super chats. Jessica, you keep checking your phone for updates from the counting center. We're not based at the counting center. You were there earlier, I understand. Is that before I get to these super chats, and I promise to get back to them, can you give us a little bit of detail of what is this counting center, who's allowed in there, and why is it being released now when the actual election was on the 23rd?
Well, with that, I believe it's just a EU policy that they hold on to the votes, and they have specific days of counting them and verifying them. But yeah, I walked in there, big empty room, just desks on either sides of the room. There's people going through them. I believe there's a good amount of volunteers for each party that's going and verifying and just keeping an eye out on everything.
And Tommy's got his scrutineers there too,
yes,
right?
Yes, he does, yeah. There is a stage there set up for the media. So the media is allowed, but you aren't allowed to film or take pictures anywhere near the tables.
Okay.
So there's it seems like just the one area all the way in the back of the room where the media can set up in front of the stage. There's a little bit of a screen there, which I assume that's where the results are going to be put up.
Well, we've got some friends on the inside there. So feel free to keep checking your phone throughout the night. So folks, if you see Jessica checking her phone throughout the night, it's to get you that information either from social media or from the counters and other allies we have inside that room. All right, I'm going to do what I promised I would do. I'm going to read a few super chats, and I'm grateful to you. And then we're going to introduce the candidate himself. Spencer Hammond chipped in £1.99. Thank you for helping Tommy. Well, I tell you, it's ironic that just doing straight journalism is considered help. That's supposed to be a public service in itself. It's not supposed to be a partisan thing. Otemoto 85 chips in £5. They'll make a film about Tommy one day. You'll get a cameo role, Ezra, obviously. Well, who would play me? I think it's Newman from Seinfeld. What do you think? Amanda Smith chips in £9.99. Thanks very much for that. I'm just going to read a few more of these. I want to let you know that I appreciate that. Here's one, someone who put in some Norwegian kroner. Jane Vanilla. Well, thank you for that. Brend Wagner, €10. Can you do more work in Germany? They need support too. Also, maybe a good topic for the Canadian audience would be why the Liberal government sold most of the gold that was in Canada's possession. I have been to Germany several times, and there is so much news there. I think you're right. And I should say one more thing about Germany. Most Germans speak English, so the fact that I don't speak a word of German. I know you speak a little bit Polish.
Yeah.
Maybe we should. I'll take your advice under advisement. Danny Beal, £5. Sing if you hate Jeremy Corbyn. Let's just read a couple more of these before All right, I'm sorry, I'm being a little bit silly here. Jamie Palmer, $2, £2. Thanks, Rebel, for helping Tommy. Well, speaking of Tommy, look, we're sort of squished here, so I'm going to stand up now. I'm going to suck in my gut, and I'm going to let Tommy Robinson come and take center stage here until he has to go. So if he can stay with us for 10 minutes or an hour, the more the better. So I'm going to stand up, and Tommy's going to squish in. Yes, all right, excuse me. Yeah.
Oh, Jeremy Corbyn.
Well, Tommy, it's great to see you. We're all going to squish together like friends that we are. It's nice to see you. You've done a lot of interviews with Jessica over the last few weeks, but I haven't had a chance to really see you today. How you feeling, mate?
I'm feeling good. I had a great month. I'm feeling. I think at the end of the campaign, I was being over enthusiastic as well, saying we're winning. To try and counter all of everything we've had thrown against us. So, do I think I'm going to win?
I don't know. It's hard to guess.
Yeah, I think that reality. I think that when you go through, but we'll talk about it. When you go through what we're up against, what we're combating, what I found on the campaign trail, it's been a great experience. I loved it.
Can you just move up a few inches closer here to the mic here? I'm
just
getting in my ear.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, mate.
Yeah, so it's been I had an amazing month. More than anything, meeting supporters, going to the estates, meeting the people. I've never felt so loved in my life. It's an emotional thing. Even when I go away and I sit back and watch, I just think, wow, I can see the passion in people. Do I think that will turn into electoral success with what we face? Like, for example, this has not been a fair campaign. It's not a fair electoral process. It's impossible to have a fair one now. It's not fair in the sense that social media has to be taken into account. It has to be. I had the largest social media. I had it all removed.
You had 1 million Facebook followers, and then they turned that off.
The most engaged, and the maddest thing is, it was all turned off at the request of government, at the request of the establishment. And then what we saw, so they removed my social media, and then every single town and city we went into, the local MP would go to the local media, the controlled media. He would make a statement that slanders me, lies about me, and labels me as a racist and an extremist, as a Nazi, as whatever they want. I have no counter way of arguing with that. I had people in the street that I'd hand a leaflet to, and they'd say, Tommy Robinson, aren't you a Nazi? Aren't you a fascist? And I say, where do you get that? They said, it's just what I've been told by the media. Now, so when you see a campaign, and that's one thing, is their ability to lie about you. The next thing is, say, for example, Hope Not Hate. Hope Not Hate had a paid operation of advertisement using social media. It reached 2.4 million people in the Northwest alone. How do I combat that? So it's like I'm going into a fight with my hands tied behind the back, and I'm not even allowed to punch back. I can't even tell people the truth. They cut and edit videos together with little snippets and put them all together into a montage, and then they sell that to the Northwest, and they literally sell it because they pay a lot of money to get it there. And I have no way of reaching those people because I'm not even allowed to talk to them. I'm not allowed social media, so I can't do my own advertisement. Yeah. So then I go to back to the old ways of leaflets. So I then think, right, I'll leaflet to get my message to the people. We've then got evidence, clear evidence, that this is when I realised this is near on impossible to win, because people are being lied to, told I'm a Nazi in every single newspaper. The media are part of this campaign. You have far left hate groups who I've already proved to the world that they lie. I proved to the world that they work with the establishment to destroy my name. I proved it with Panodrama. They then work and operate, contacting 2.4 million people. They leaflet every house in the Northwest. When I go to leaflet through the Royal Mail, which is protected and part of the electoral process, I've got clear evidence now that they refused to take my leaflets. Many of them, and not just that they refused it, it was celebrated by the union.
The Postal Workers Union, is that right, Tommy?
The Postal Workers Union actually celebrated the fact that I've had so many people contact me, so many people who haven't received a leaflet, they should have done. So certain witnesses contacted me saying they saw the postman dump boxes of them. Then we've had the actual postman saying 6 of us in our one little part, we refused to put them out. And then that was celebrated by the union. So when we can't fight the lies or the smears, which we're being lied and smeared about across the whole country, when we can't fight that electoral campaign, the reason every candidate has to spend the same amount of money, yeah? All the rules are equal in an electoral campaign. So that's fair.
Well, that's the reason there's spending limits, is so that everyone's on a level playing field. But if there's a spending limit, but you can't spend it on social media,
and everyone else has social media, and literally the union paid for 50 or maybe even 100 billboards specifically lying and slandering about me. The union, Hope Not Hate, reached 2.4 million people. They leafleted 400,000 addresses. They done all of these campaigns against me. I couldn't even fight back. So when I think about the chances, the entire population, there's no chance, really.
Well, it's interesting, and Justin, back in Canada, can you get the Manchester montage? Jessica, I remember when you went to, is that your glass of water?
Yeah, that's mine. My breathing's been terrible, man. I think I was so run down at the end of this campaign. I went home in class.
Jessica, one of your first days here on the campaign, you went to Manchester, the city proper, and you talked to students, and you asked them, what do you think about Tommy? And every one of them had the message track that was drilled into their head. I hate him, he's a Nazi, he's a fascist. And every single one of them, you said, why? And not a single one of them had an answer. We put that video up, and some of Tommy's fans said, what are you doing? Why are you showing that? Well, because when you have like 2.4 million brochures, all the establishment slandering you, but you're denied, it's like you were given a laryngectomy. And I want to just play a clip of that because no one knows why. They just know that's the message they're supposed to repeat. Do you have the clip back there? Okay, just take a look. Just play 30 seconds of it.
Voting.
Probably for Labour Party, if anything.
And why is that?
No idea, my friend tells me to.
And can you name your current MEP right now?
No, not at all.
I'm Jessica Shventhanowski with Rebel.media out in Manchester today, trying to talk to people out here. First of all, trying to see if they actually are aware that there is an election happening right now and seeing what they may have heard of the candidate Tommy Robinson for this region. Let's go take a look. Have you heard anything about Tommy Robinson running for MEP in the region?
Yeah, he's a cunt.
And why is that?
You know why, but she won't be asking.
That's why I'm asking. Can you give me, why do you think that?
He's racist, he's Islamophobic, and...
It goes on for some while like that. What was so incredible, and Jessica, you kept putting it to them, you have a single example, like surely you can come up with one example. If someone said to me, Ezra, why is Jeremy Corbyn anti-Semitic? I could give you examples, and I'm not even a Brit. You know, he posed with the Hezbollah flag. I know the facts, but not a single person you asked knew a fact. I think it's because they've just had this steady drip, drip, drip of disinformation about Tommy. Is that your sense of things?
Oh, for sure. It's like they're just implanted with these phrases and these things to say. And yeah, it does sound bad when you call somebody a racist, so you'll repeat it because it's such a harsh word that if somebody calls you that, then you want to believe it.
Where there's smoke, there's got to be fire.
Exactly.
Tommy, I want to ask you a question about this because it wasn't just Facebook and Twitter that knocked you out. In the middle of your campaign, Stripe, and most people don't know what Stripe is, but it's a credit card processor that runs half the internet. Stripe and PayPal knocked you offline, but Stripe, in the middle of the campaign, shut down your campaign fundraising ability. Now, you fired off a lawyer's letter and they backed down temporarily, but that is worse interference by a foreign company, Stripe, it's based in America, in an election campaign here in the UK than anything that the Russians have ever been accused of.
Yeah, it's not just that. Social media haven't just limited me. All the even political or any pages that were supportive of me with high profiles were also removed. Have also been limited. Even our social media, even when we set up YouTube accounts that would then be for the election campaign, they've censored those videos. So it's been a complete uphill battle, but it's also exposed and shown just the power that they have and the control that they have, the establishment has. With regards to Stripe, they stopped our ability. They weren't happy with people not hearing our message. Our ability to fund our campaign, they just removed mid-flow, just took it down. And like everything else, like PayPal, like all of these things, when they removed it, no reason given, just you breached our terms and conditions. They never tell you which terms and conditions. Even Snapchat, something I've done nothing on, just removed. So all these companies are working together. They're all talking together. And it should scare the public, the power that they have, especially in an electoral process. You can't have candidates running against each other, where certain candidates or parties are allowed to use the benefit of social media to reach and advertise, which is the biggest form of advertisement now. It's the biggest form of reaching the public. You can actually specifically target your audience for age, for political beliefs, for where they live. You can't have that. And then other parties or other groups, due to the government interference, are not allowed to even combat it.
You know what? I think back to Daniel Pipes, a scholar in America who uses the phrase the 5P professionals. He says the press, the politicians, the police, the prosecutors, and the professors. These are the establishment. These are the big shots. And I think of how every single one of these aspects came for you. The police, they blocked you on the street. The prosecutors, they took you to the Old Bailey in the middle of the campaign. The press lied about you. The politicians denounced you. The professors, I saw law professors trying to justify physical assaults called milkshaking. All the people that we rely on to defend on democracy, all 5 out of the 5P professional groups, press, politicians, police, prosecutors, and professors, they've all gone mad, Tommy.
The biggest thing is the justification for violence as well. You see so many people, I wish it was acid, I wish it was bricks. No one's arrested. People watched, you all watched, yeah, as I was physically assaulted.
Well, we've got that clip ready. I want to show 3 clips of that because I knew we'd talk about this thing.
My wife just come in. She's a 10.
Okay,
she's a 10.
We got you for 10 minutes?
No, I said she's a 10.
She's a 10. Ain't that the truth, Tom? I don't know how you get to be so lucky, mate. I want to show you a few clips. I want to show you, the first one is the assault itself. All right, so you were talking, and I've seen you do this before. I've seen you talk to try and convince people who, like, you don't just ignore people who are opposed. You try and convince them. Let's take a look at, you're talking to this guy passionately, and he just loses his patience, and he throws a milkshake in your face. Let's take a look at that.
He was overly aggressive, he was jumping around like he was going to do something. He didn't do shit. The only person he pushed was a woman. No, you was, mate. We'll show you the footage later. So you come here very aggressively, you got over.
Yeah, he just finished saying he wasn't aggressive, and he threw that in your face. But I want to show you 2 more things. He got into a taxi with a Muslim taxi driver, and he was so proud of himself, and he thanked Allah. Let's take a quick look at that clip.
Yes, bro.
Yes, G.
How are you, man?
Respect, BB1, all the way.
Did you even get nicked?
Nah, bro.
Yeah, man. Everything's blessed, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, lana shukr.
I'm not sure if we have the Guardian story, but the Guardian actually wrote that he was afraid for himself. You were bullying him, and that the milkshake, and I quote here, slipped out of his hand. The police escorted him to the train station. They didn't arrest him. They marched with him to protect him.
I think they give him a lift. I think they drove him, dropped him off at the train stations. Well done, son, off you go. That's criminal damage and it's assault. But he's Muslim and I'm Tom Robinson, so that's nothing. It's celebrated. It was celebrated by Conservative Party MPs. It was celebrated by all of the media. It's completely been encouraged. On that same day, as well as him throwing milkshake, this started the milkshake trend. In fact, it was started 2 days before in Bury, where again, someone threw a milkshake and they weren't arrested. And on that same day, I was physically assaulted by a lady and I was physically assaulted by a male. Neither of them have been arrested. Now, the one thing that's really exposing in these things is for everyone who's watching it, to see the media's response, to see that they all anyone who watched that video, they painted him like some innocent victim. When you see the footage of what he was doing, he was trying to start physical contact with me. He was goading, jumping around. I wasn't at all. Even my supporters were trying to be calm. But the way it's portrayed to the whole public was that we were the aggressors. He was a scared little boy. He was scared and intimidated, which is completely contrary to the evidence that everyone can watch online. And the whole way through this campaign, that's what's happened. The media have told one story. People can watch the video. The difference is, it's the amount of people that can now watch the video. Usually, off my social media, say, for example, what happened in Oldham, 6 million people would have watched that video. 6 million people would have seen that they've been lied to by the media. Because they've limited our social media, 150,000 people watched it. And that's it.
Isn't that true? Now, Jessica, I don't think you were there when that milkshake attack happened, but you were there in Oldham when the riots happened. Can you tell me, I mean, we've heard from Tommy, can you tell our viewers, what was it like for you? You're from Canada, the land of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the Mounties, everyone loves a Mountie. How did you feel the policing in Oldham during that riot was? Did they do their best? Were they caught off guards? Or were they sort of willing to let it go to punish Tommy and to hurt his reputation?
It definitely, there's a motive there. It's sad to see them because, like you said before, I have tremendous respect for first responders and servicemen, but they were standing by, they were letting things happen, there were no arrests made. They seemed almost sympathetic to the Muslim protesters.
It's very strange. Jessica, I'd like you to check on your phone, either social media or contact Tommy's team in the counting booth. And Tommy, you do the same. I'm going to take a minute and read some super chats just as a way of thanking our supporters. So we're going to be very loose here. And Tommy, when you have to go, don't be shy about it.
I'm just working out what to do now with that. Whether to go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you have to go on a moment's notice. We're glad to have you here.
Can you do a poll on there? Can you do that?
I don't know if we can do a poll, but we can ask people to give their feedback.
If I go to the count, I'm going to be surrounded by a room full of people I don't want to be surrounded by, who I have nothing in common with. Whereas here, I've got 10,000 people watching, who are my people, my supporters. So I'd rather be spending my evening talking to my own people.
Well, you're welcome.
At the same time, I just like getting in the middle of it a little bit.
Well, if you want to go, feel free. And as we said before we went live, we might deputize Jessica to go with a camera. And if something exciting breaks, we can take your footage live from Periscope. So you guys feel free to work the phones. I'm going to take a minute just to say thanks to the folks who've been sending super chats. So Tommy, why don't you get a read on what's going on? Yeah, take your time. And I'll just scoot over. Cool. All right. Well, Tommy's checking in with his family who is here and making a decision on things. Are you?
That's my little word. I just want to say one thing.
Okay. I think we got.
A shout out.
He's just saying, Daddy, why don't you give me a shout out? Spencer, you better be being good for your nana. All right. I love you. Macy, you all right, babe? I hope those boys are gone. And Poppy, I love you as well. Miss you. Mum, love you. Dad, love you. Peace. Be good, kids, all right?
There you go. I tell you, Tommy's got a wonderful family, and I think that's a side of him that I wish other people could see. Of course, for their own safety, they cannot be in public because, as you know, Tommy himself has been the target of many threats, physical threats, and God forbid that should extend beyond him himself. All right, I want to read some of the super chats. And Jessica, you stay in touch with folks who are at the counting center, because if we have news from there, not only would we like you to tell it to us here, but it may be appropriate for you to head on down there. I have here on my phone some more super chats, so let me read some of them. El Chapacabra, who I know from Canada, chips in 21 Canadian dollars, which is about £3 sterling. Thanks for the great coverage, Jessica and the Rebel team. Well, I tell you, we're so proud to have Jessica, and I think she, in 2 weeks, you had more real journalistic experience than I think in like 6 months in a normal campaign beat.
Well, I mean, I was in journalism school for 2 years, and that It was definitely useful, but these 2 weeks were probably the best experience I could have had as a journalist.
Now, Tommy's welcome to come on back, but until then, let's line ourselves up here. We sort of squished together, the three of us. Let me read some more super chats, and then we have some other videos that we can show from the campaign trail. Let me just go through some of these friendly folks. Anti-Duck chips in £5. Please give Jessica a promotion and some Ezra goggles. Thank you for your coverage, Jessica. I don't know what Ezra goggles are, but you know.
I'm not sure, but I want them.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I don't want to jump the gun, but of course we are very interested in Jessica continuing on with us once her student placement is over, and hopefully once things calm down and we're back in Canada and can take a deep breath, obviously we'd love to have you. Observer Dude, £10. I was in Oldham at Tommy's rally. Some of the leftists who were calling us Nazis once protested outside a Jewish shop in Manchester and got banned from it by the city council for harassment. I think that's incredible. I think, Ed, one of our lights went out here, if you could help us out with that. Well, that's the irony. One of Tommy's videos, and Justin back in Canada, can you get, you know, my favorite Tommy video, the one where there was an engagement that happened, there was just a great vid. Tommy points out that there's, and I've seen this with my own eyes, there's usually a Star of David flag in a Tommy demo. There usually is, and I've been to half a dozen Tommy demos, whereas the anti-Tommy activists, if anything, I mean, first of all, they don't even like the Union Jack, but maybe they've got the Hezbollah flag like Jeremy Corbyn. Let me just read a couple more of this, and Jessica, poke around and let me know if there's any info you can get either from social media or from our friends on the inside there. Lee McMichael chips in £5 and says, keep up good Tommy and Rebel. 50 Shades MCFC. I bet Tommy to get elected at 8-1 a few weeks ago. Back here is hoping. Well, that would be a heck of a payday, so I hope that comes true. I should tell you that Paddy Power had Tommy at 6-5 odds, which means a 45% chance of winning. And Ladbrokes, if I'm saying that right, had him at 7-4 odds, which I think is 36%. So he was in the running. Look, you just heard the uphill battle he had. No social media. The Royal Mail refusing to mail things. The cops not only blocking Tommy's campaign, but escorting rioters towards him. I don't even know if it's possible to win when you've been unpersoned like that, but wouldn't that be something? I hope you get paid your 8-1. Adger Wise, $5. Love to Tommy, and thanks, Rebel, for fairly covering his campaign. Well, that's the thing, is just simply pointing a camera and asking who, what, where, why, when. That kind of journalism doesn't even happen here in the UK, and I say that with a heavy heart. Sarah Naylor, £9.99. Please give Tommy a big hug from us. And Little Rosa. All right, well, we'll do. CTIV Patriot UK, £2. Based Welshman, sheep shagging bastard, you know what you are. You know what? You paid £2, so I'll read it. You can hear Tommy laughing in the background. Tommy, do you have time to stick around a bit? Okay, sure. Okay, let me scoot over one more time because Tommy's gonna go. All right, mate. So have you checked on things?
I haven't checked on anything. I did. My plan is a reality. So up until the basis at the end of the election, the reality is I think it's impossible with everything we've had stacked against us. I would like, as I said, my mind was, should I stay speaking to my supporters? Should I stay speaking together, or shall I go down there? Regardless, I think I'm going to go down there. I'm going to go down there now. I'd like to say to every single person who supported me during this campaign, I've had an amazing experience. It's been wonderful. We've had a great laugh as well, haven't we? That's good. It was a good time. And and I felt so loved. So more than anything, I think we have a massive fight. What we find out tonight is just how much of an influence the establishment, the media, and the limiting of social media, the ability for you to get your message out, the ability for me to talk to the public and to counter the lies and smears. That's my toughest job. And to politicise the working class, which is what I wanted to do. No matter what, we've had a success. No matter what, there's been a success. Do I think I'll be elected as an MEP? I don't. I didn't, even at the end of the campaign. I didn't feel it. I hope it. But yeah, I've had, it's been a great experience. And more than anything, I've delayed so much for this campaign. The Rape of Britain, which is an upcoming documentary I want to do, highlighting what's happening to children in the towns and cities, exposing all of them. I want to crack on with that. I'm ready to crack on with that. But I've got to get my court case out of the way, the 4th of July. It's constantly battling and constantly trying to swim when they're throwing everything at you. 4th of July, outside the Old Bailey.
Stick around for one more minute. I want to ask you one question, and I want to make one plan. Jessica, I might suggest that you go with Tommy to that place, and if there's breaking news, let us know and put it on your Periscope, and we'll pipe that feed in here. If you want to stick around and stay on standby, but where Tommy goes, news often follows. So if you want to go and follow him, that may be an appropriate thing to do, especially to be inside, because you're one of the accredited people to go in that counting room. I'm not pushing you away. You're much better received from our 10,000 viewers than I am. But if there's breaking news, it might behoove us to be on the ground. Tommy, I have a question for you.
Yep.
Oh, first of all, will you come back afterwards if you can?
I'll come back.
Okay, come back afterwards. So viewers, Tommy's going to the counting place. It's actually the verification. The counting has been done in the 39 local towns and cities.
In the 3 days that they've just been sat there.
Yeah, I find that really iffy. I've never heard of that before. I've heard of it taking time to count, but counting ballots and letting them sit under lock and key. Who's lock? Who's key?
Who's the big?
But I want to ask you a question, Tommy, because in the United States, this deplatforming is a political issue. Like here in the UK, Paul Joseph Watson was kicked off, Carl Benjamin, Sargon Khan kicked off. But I don't see the same free speech commitment in the UK as I do in the United States. They've got their First Amendment. I believe that listen, we don't have the results yet. You might still win, mate. But if, God forbid, you don't, I think that is a warning to Donald J. Trump that if he does not rein in the big tech censors, you had 1 million Facebook fans that took you to 0, and if that's what knocked you out, if you lose this thing by a couple percent, of course it's because you were deplatformed on Facebook. And let this be a cautionary tale for Donald Trump. If he doesn't fix it, he will be killed too. What do you think of that?
100%. And it's not just that they took me off. No one's even had to mention my name. That's insane. You can't even write Tommy Robinson or say anything favourable without it being deleted or you being removed. They have removed any ability to talk about me on social media. Now, and that's spread across all of social media. So, of course, that's affected. And that's why I see today we see how much it would have affected. If I'd have had social media, I'd have smashed this completely. And but Donald Trump, America, they're removing everyone. They're removing everyone. At the start of this campaign, any supporting voices that were political media were removed as well. It's not just me. They were removed as well. So, yeah, Donald Trump's got to sort it out, or eventually they'll be in complete control, which is what they're doing. They're regaining control.
Well, I find it very troubling because as a Canadian, of course, we have the Queen on our passport and the Queen on our currency and our stamps. And we look to the United Kingdom as the place where these freedoms were hard won from the Magna Carta and John Milton. And if you are losing them, you're the trunk of the tree. And in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, we're the branches of the tree. If the trunk rots, will the branches be far behind? I don't know.
We're not losing them. We've lost them. They're gone. They removed me from social media without breaking any laws. As I said, we have strict laws in this country against inciting hatred, against racial hatred, religious hatred. I broke none of them. I've been removed at every single level, organised, orchestrated, all planned together, completely removed me and removed the ability for anyone to talk about me. And that's all been planned, probably knowing that at some point I'd run for election. And my ability to talk to the public and tell them my view and counter the lies and smears is gone. So,
it's funny you say that. You just made me remember. Brexit was in 2016. That was won largely on social media. Then Trump in November 2016. Then social media woke up and they deplatformed Marine Le Pen in France. Facebook shut down 30,000 pro-Le Pen. Yeah, and maybe they've defeated candidates that we don't even know about yet. And that's a much bigger story than the Russia collusion conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy fact that they're shutting you down. That's not a theory. That's a fact, Tommy.
It's a celebrated fact. Celebrated by the establishment, celebrated by the media. They're not just removing me, but when you say it, removing anyone the ability to talk about me. Someone put their voting form on when they put a cross in Tommy Robinson. It was removed for hate speech.
Yeah, that's incredible. For those who don't, it's just simply saying the words Tommy Robinson, you put that on Facebook as your status, that will be suspended for violating community standards. I don't think people know how bad it is. Try doing it at home, folks. Try doing Vote Tommy Robinson, even if you're not a Brit in the Northwest. you may well find your post suspended simply for, it's almost like Voldemort.
They're going through and deleting people's posts from 6 years ago. So where they've made me a figure of hate without any evidence or without any criminal proceedings, I'm a figure of hate because Facebook say I am. But once they do that, that's it. You cannot mention me. You can mention Hitler. You can mention terrorists. You can celebrate Islamic jihadists. You can mention any of them. None of them are banned. But you mentioned Tommy Robinson, which for me was not a good thing, but it means I was rocking the boat and they really feared me. They don't fear the far right or the extreme far right. They fear someone who they can see is building a movement based on honesty and truth. I've been removed from everywhere. This election, I'm going to go there now. I'm grateful for the support. One thing is I felt so loved. There's my little boy on there again, FaceTiming. I felt so loved by everyone. It's been great having you here, Jess. It's been great having you here. Honest journalists to give a true account of what's happening because we're lied to. The public know they're lied to. The trust in media's gone. It's whether they've been able to influence and so many people didn't even know I was standing. So many people I speak to didn't even know you're standing. I've got no ability to talk to them. Before, if I went live on my Facebook, by the next day I'd have 1 million or 2 million views. That's gone now. They've took that. And from all social media.
Well, listen, I mean, you've lowered expectations because we've come face to face with the reality of the censorship, but it's not done yet. I mean, and I understand what you're feeling and what you're saying. It's not over till it's over, so we're still rooting for you, and so are the 11,000 folks watching. You're going to go over to the counting center. Jessica, do you think you should go over now, or should you tag along later?
So. It looks like results are going to be coming in the next 30 minutes. So I think it's a good idea if I head over there with you.
Get your milkshakes ready. I'm on my way.
All right, Tommy, will you come back afterwards? Okay, cheers. All right, we'll just play musical chairs here one more time. Jessica, thanks very much. And stay in touch with me by sending me messages when there's news. Stay in touch with our home base in Toronto because when there's a key moment, go live on Periscope and we'll pipe that in here too. And so we'll see you back a little bit later as well, Jessica. All right, thanks very much. Well, folks, we had 3 people. Now we're down to 1, and I apologize that the one you're stuck with is just little old me, the least exciting of the 3. I want to say a special thanks to Jessica, who just did outstanding reportage. I'm just going to move this mic out of the way. For those of you who haven't seen Jessica's reporting in full, I'll have both mics here. I encourage you to go to TommyReports.com. Over the course of 2 weeks, I think she did close to 30 videos. I think I didn't count them all, but I encourage you to check them out to see what it was like. And I think it actually made a difference having her there because just basic facts would not come out. I have a friend in Manchester who said he physically was driving by a Tommy rally and he saw police cars and a counterpart. He didn't know what was going on, and it was not in the Manchester Evening News. He literally had to stumble upon it to know it was happening, and I don't think that's legitimate. I don't think that's proper journalism for the newspaper of record in Manchester. Not to report on an interesting story. You don't have to be pro Tommy Robinson to report on his news. Very frustrating to me. Well, as you heard, we expect Tommy to come back after he goes to that event at the counting center. Jessica is accredited to go in there, but I don't know what she's allowed to broadcast from in that room. But if she is if she has the ability to go live, she will surely do so. I'm just going to connect right now with our team in Toronto, and I'm just connecting with our team in Toronto. So Toronto, keep an eye peeled on Jessica, who's going with Tommy back to the counting center. And keep in touch with her. And if news is breaking from the counting center, just tell me in my earpiece and I'll cork it. And then we can play a live stream of Jessica's Twitter Periscope video. So don't be shy about telling me to cork it, especially now that it's just me here in the room. Well, it was nice to spend some time with Tommy. And the time here in Manchester now is 9:49 p.m. It's obviously 5 hours earlier on the east coast of Canada, the United States. Tommy has a lot of supporters around the world. I know this because when we crowdfunded his legal defense fund, we had supporters all over the Anglosphere, Canada, the United States, Australia, New Zealand, and of course continental Europe as well. I'd say Tommy is as popular outside of the UK as he is in the UK. There was a very interesting point that Tommy made, is that the establishment in the UK is not genuinely afraid of the far right, of neo-Nazis, of groups like that, because they have no popular purchase. They don't. There's no chance that an actual neo-Nazi party would win in the UK, or even in France or Italy or Germany or places like that. There's no chance. But a peaceful, thoughtful, populist nationalist like Tommy, who doesn't have a racist bone in his body, that is concerning to the status quo. It's, in fact, the very fact that he is not far right that's concerning to them. All right, well, I am far behind. I'm sorry, can you say that again? The Marine Le Pen one. Can you explain what you mean? I'm sorry, I'm just getting a message from Toronto. There we go. Here we have a story from Toronto. This is from, looks like this is from Reuters. Le Pen beats Macron in France as nationalists gain in EU vote. Thank you very much. That's our Toronto headquarters weighing in with other European Union news. Hold that up on the screen there. Thank you so much, Justin, for putting that up on the screen. I didn't notice that at first. So this is breaking news. About 10 minutes ago, you heard me and Tommy say that Facebook deleted 30,000 pro-Marine Le Pen Facebook pages in the French election a couple of years ago. But look at this. Tonight, Marine Le Pen's Rassemblement National crushed Emmanuel Macron. That's what happens with half a year of yellow vest protests. Isn't that interesting? So I guess the social media ban wasn't enough to stop the Tommy Robinson of France. Isn't that interesting? Well, thanks for bringing that to my attention, Justin. It took me about a second to understand what you were saying. I have an earpiece here that occasionally I get messages on. All right, I want to catch up with some super chats. And Ed, can I trouble you for a bottle of water down there? I'm going to be doing some serious talking, folks. Let's go through. There's one right down here, Ed. I'm sorry to trouble you. Okay. Beverly Martin Davies, 10 pounds. This is for Spencer and his brother and sister to go buy themselves a milkshake. Enjoy, kids. Your dad's a star. Thanks, Ed. Well, that's very nice of you, Beverly. I'll pass on the 10 quid. Seamus O'Dwyer, keep going, bud. Thanks very much. Lady Rotha, 5 pounds. Thank you for that. Jordan Hall, 20 pounds. Tommy shouldn't be facing charges. We have done the same thing outside Leeds the other month on a grooming gang, setting up protests in London for Brexit Pyro for Brexit June 23rd, but getting censored and losing account. I think I'm understanding what you're saying, but it's funny. I was in court at the Old Bailey with Tommy a couple of weeks ago, and as you know, they're re-prosecuting him for that false finding of contempt. It was almost exactly a year ago where Tommy was outside the Leeds County Court. There was a rape gang of more than 24 men who had raped girls as young as 11 and raped them hundreds of times. What my friends in Canada and the United States don't understand is these rape gangs in the UK, it's not like grabbing someone, pulling them into an alley and having your way with them and then discarding them. This is a systemic exploitation, entrapment. It's basically turning these girls into extorted child prostitutes. They're kids as young as 11, and they're raped nightly by these gangs of men. It's such a horrific thing. We don't yet have that phenomenon in North America. Tommy's detected it here in the UK, and he's rung the bell about it. And a year ago, and I'm going to show you the arrest footage and when he was finally released. A year ago, he was just live streaming. You heard he would hit that button on Facebook, and tens of thousands of people would watch it immediately, and within a day, 1 million. He was just simply standing outside the court by himself, not making a fuss, talking into his phone, and then you know the footage. We'll show it to you again. A squad of 7 police simply scoop them up, throw them in the back of a police van, and take them away. Just to remind you what that looked like, take a look at this.
The content of what I'm streaming, I'm being arrested for breach of the peace. Being arrested for breach of the peace. You've all watched this. You've all watched this. You've all watched this. You've all watched this. Can you get me a solicitor? Can you get me a solicitor?
Can you just turn off your live feed?
Can you get me a solicitor?
Just turn off your live feed, please.
Yeah?
Do you understand what the
No, can you explain it again?
arrest on suspicion causing a breach of the peace?
What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean, officer? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean?
I'm told that under the police
Not at all, I've never said that.
George, that's the information I've got.
I'm inciting people. I'm inciting
Through his
people.
video and
How have I incited
he
people?
hasn't.
This is free speech. This is where we're at. You're not even allowed to. Look at this.
Look how many people.
Man, what are you trying to hide? Do you know when you do this?
These are normal working
More people.
Really sharp things are lighters.
Just
let them do this.
More people are going to watch this now than ever. This is ridiculous, lads. Do you feel right what you're doing it? I haven't said a word. In fact, someone laid their hand and assaulted me outside court. Yeah, exactly. Other people swore at me and threatened me about my mother, and here I am being arrested for saying nothing.
I'm threatened to behead
I've done nothing.
You never said anything about
What are they arresting you for, Tommy?
Breach of the peace. Apparently I'm inciting on my video. Can you please, George, get me a solicitor?
Yeah,
because I'm on a suspended sentence, you see, so that's
He has actually done nothing wrong.
You can sort anything like that.
Welcome back. I wanted to show you that clip there. I saw that. I was actually in Canada watching that on my phone, and I saw that, and I thought, oh my God. And I had watched that carefully because I observed a few things. I'm a former lawyer myself, and I observed Tommy called them alleged rapists. He didn't call them rapists. He was careful not to step on the precincts of the courts when he was filming. He didn't film any jurors. He was following all the rules. But he was swarmed by 7 cops and packed off to prison. Now, why? As you know, the Court of Appeal here in the UK, in a unanimous ruling, threw out that finding of contempt and released him from prison. It was a disgrace on the judge who threw him in prison. But what were they really mad about? Were they really mad that Tommy might be upsetting the trial? No, the trial was over, actually. It was Judgment Day. They were worried about that phone he had in his hand. And so instead of sending 7 cops to arrest him, throw him in the back of a van, and then take him off to prison, why not just pressure Facebook to take away the thing that really bothered them? They deplatformed him. So they basically contracted out the censorship to Facebook. It was a scandal on the British government to throw him in prison that way. And don't take my word for it. The Court of Appeal said so themselves. So why not get rid of all that messy police arresting stuff? Why not get rid of all that embarrassing, improper, false imprisonment stuff and just make a phone call to Mark Zuckerberg and say, hey, unperson this guy. Make a phone call to Jack Dorsey of Twitter and say, hey, unperson this guy. Tommy Robinson, depending on how you measure, had the 3rd most active political account on Facebook in the United Kingdom. Third only to Jeremy Corbyn or Theresa May. Now, I just want to let you know that I've heard from Ed here that Jessica may be going live on Periscope as Tommy enters the counting room. So I would say to Justin in our control center in Toronto, feel free to switch over to that live stream. If it looks interesting, feel free to do that. And in any event, grab it and we can play it as a clip here. So I want to let you know that Jessica and Tommy have left the building here and they've gone there. I know this is a little bit rough and tumble, but that's the world of social media. Is you can be citizen journalists, you can be real time, you can have, I love it. I love it. We're not as fancy as the BBC, but what we lack in funding, I think we make up for with honesty. And would you agree with me that Jessica did just a great job? I think she's great, and I've asked her to come back to London. I'm coming back to London too on July 4th and 5th for Tommy's retrial at the Old Bailey. Can you believe it? They're putting him on trial again for contempt of court. I've asked Jessica to come back to London then because I think she's a fan favorite in the UK, and you got to give people what they want. Am I right? All right. So Canada, in my ear, I'll rely on you to tell me if you want to break away to get any clips from Jessica at the counting place. In the meantime, let me give a few shout outs to our supporters. Peter Kameniak, £5. Thank you for that. $24 from Shirley Rose Lee. Thank you for that. Michelin Book, $20 Canadian. Love your hard work and honest reports. Yay Le Pen, and now on to Tommy. Thank you for that. Canada, if you want to send me any more super chats to my email, because I know I missed a few when I was engrossed with what Tommy was saying. So feel free to give me any updates right in my ear if you think I need to know them, or to email me with more super chats. In fact, I'm going to read some right now from my phone. Thanks for staying with me, folks. I've got a lot of screens going. I see what I look like on TV. It's hideous. I see the super chats here. I got a website open here. There's a lot of moving parts. Tracy UK Patriot says, hello, Ezra and Jessica. Thanks for all you guys do. Go Tommy Robinson. Well, thank you. Holly Movie Star, $2 says, an American Filipino in America is with you, Tommy. I'll pass it on to him. DWD says, would to see Junker's face in July if Tommy wins? Wouldn't that be something? I am Play, $20. Thanks for the... sounds like we got Jessica live. Go ahead and put it through.
So we're just walking in right now.
We get through.
Everybody has to go
Down there.
down there. All of the whiteboard.
They said even Tommy Robinson can't go in that way. So we're walking around.
So,
I'm feeling. Keep the audio on.
All right.
Looking sharp.
I know.
I heard a rumor you were going to wear a pink suit.
I was just winding A-Town up. Did he buy it?
Yeah, he was.
I was going to come honestly
nervous.
dressed as a milkshake. No joke. I was fancy dressed as a milkshake. I've been looking at this election is about Brexit. So the gauge I'd get is obviously Brexit Party going to smash it. Ready? Yes, mate. Yes, sir.
Live stream me, smashing the shit out of
Yeah.
milkshake.
He's got new shoes.
New shoes, new milkshake proof blazer.
There's the police, tactical unit, unboard area. And the results are what, coming in 10 minutes?
Maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Are they?
Yeah. Slowly coming in, yeah.
I think that no matter what, we'd have got non-voters voting. No matter what. Where do we go in, eh?
That way.
Where's your ticket? A-Town's in here. Where's A-Town? Look at it.
Cameras already excited.
Yes. How you doing, right?
Yes,
mate. How are you? Mate? Yeah, I'm right.
Hello, mate. How's it going?
Yeah, good, brother.
Yeah.
You know where A-Town is?
Glad you're down.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ring him.
Hey!
Tommy's gonna be our MVP.
We know where A-Town is?
Our MVP. Tommy's gonna be our MVP.
Hey, Tommy. How are you, mate? You alright? How are you doing? Alright, mate. Alright. Yeah, good.
Tommy's gonna be our MVP. Tommy's gonna be. Good luck, bro.
Get him told, Tommy.
That crowd is here for Tommy.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, sir. Come through. Let's check your bags, pal.
done me about 6 times.
Cheers, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Top this one.
Swarm of media.
What are we doing?
We can get some tea, and at 10 o'clock we're going to meet some coffee on the local results. And they'll be doing that in batches, first Manchester. And basically we just sort of get the results and then see the stage in the back there.
Yep.
There'll be a chance for everyone to come out and speak to these people that aren't our supporters.
Why don't we speak to them?
Just well, it'll be talking to camera as a live stream.
That's the truth of what we're trying to work out.
Right. But you know what it was, because these people that these are 3 people who stuck around Manchester.
Okay.
I think they were associated.
Just having a walk out.
BBC News, Tom, are you feeling confident?
I feel confident if it was a fair campaign.
Okay, what have you found unfair?
The fact that other people have been able to advertise on social media against me, tell lies and smears. Every single town and city I've gone into, the local MP has lied in the local newspaper. I have no platform to even counter it. I can't. So the reason why people are allowed to spend an equal amount on a campaign is for a fair campaign. Everyone against me has been able to advertise on social media. 2.4 million people they reached advertising against me. I'm deplatformed from all social media because what? Because the establishment made them deplatform. The Labour Party contacted YouTube and made them remove me. So I haven't had an ability to talk to people. Even when I've tried to talk to people through leaflets, the Royal Mail and their staff and their unions have refused to deliver them. And that's a fact as well. So we're putting complaints about that. If it was a fair campaign, I'd be super confident. It's not a fair campaign. This has proved that you can't have a fair campaign when the establishment and the government interfere and remove any ability you have to talk to the public. And not just do that, they then slander you and spread lies across the whole of the Northwest about me. And my ability to talk about it, anyone who's watched my campaign, you'd have seen us getting attacked, violently attacked, no one arrested. You'd have seen hundreds of masked Muslims march to our demonstration to violently attack us. And then what do the media do? The media spread the story across the whole country that Tommy Robinson clashes at his event, police cars smashed. They don't tell the story that hundreds of masked balaclava-wearing young Muslims were targeted.
Where were there hundreds of mass balaclava wearing?
Oh, come on, so where do you live? You see,
I was at your Burnley rally.
Okay, so if everyone, see, if I had my social media, the whole country would have seen what happened.
At the Burnley rally?
No, at the Oldham rally, hundreds of young Muslims chanting Allah Akbar were marched for 2 miles, wearing balaclavas, telling the police who are walking them there what they're going to do when they get there. They then targeted my families with bricks and rocks. And this is all orchestrated and organised. So then the media, all of you lot, you play the propaganda machine while you run stories telling the whole country that my supporters have rioted, which is not what happened. And it's a complete lie. So trying to combat your lies, all of your lies, along with a corrupt political class and establishment, is difficult. I'm just happy if I've got non-voters to vote. I'm happy that if I've politicised people from working class communities. I think this whole election is about Brexit, so Nigel Farage can absolutely smash it. And but I would be excited about that if the Brexit Party would talk about the issues that I feel affect most of us in working class communities. They're just another politically correct party, unfortunately. But they're great on European Union.
What do you think your chances are of winning this Tommy, right now?
I don't think. I've been talking positively through the campaign. When I went up to people and I'm handing out a leaflet, and then they tell me, "Aren't you a Nazi?" And I say, "Aren't you a Nazi?" And I hear that they've heard that from campaigns against me. Campaigns I can't counter. People can say what they want about me. I'm not allowed social media. I'm not allowed to interact with the public. I'm not allowed to. My name, if you go on social media and write Tommy Robinson, you get deleted from Facebook. Even mentioning my name. Now we have laws in this country. I haven't been tried under any of them. I've broke no laws on hate speech. I've never been arrested under hate speech. But yet you're not even allowed to mention my name. Did you watch on Question Time the other day where a lady asked them on Question Time?
Social media platforms argue that you've broken their rules on inciting hatred and that the language that you spread is Islamophobic.
What rules? During the middle of this campaign, Stripe is the processing payment for credit cards. removed my ability to fundraise for this campaign. That's a foreign company interfering in the electoral process in this country. We either have a fair election campaign or we don't. Everyone can't use social media, or no one can, because it's not fair. The whole way people use the Trump won his campaign on social media. Brexit was won on social media. I'm banned from all social media, so my ability to fight a fair campaign is gone, orchestrated and organised by the government. So do I think I stand a chance? I think it's near on impossible to fight that. How can you fight a whole establishment that are funding, the union funded 100 billboards of lies against me? I can't even counteract them. But more than anything, every community I've gone to, every working class estate I've gone to, I felt so loved. I felt more loved in this campaign than I've ever felt in my life. So it's been fulfilling for myself. I hope it's been fulfilling for my supporters. I think that what this shows, this should send a message to Donald Trump, this should send a message to the rest of the world, that get social media in hand. It cannot be used in the electoral process when you only let... I feel like I've been fighting a fight with my hand tied behind my back, because government agencies, governments, politicians, all of them are lying on social media about me. I'm not even allowed to counter it. I'm not even allowed to talk about it. And my supporters aren't even allowed to mention my name or they get deleted. It's dark.
Do you recognise it because some of the language used on your platforms were offensive and construed as
No, I don't.
Islamophobic?
No, the reason why is because in this country we have laws against inciting hate. If any of my speech was inciting hate, I'd have been arrested for it. It's basically a different opinion. What the government don't want is a different opinion that wakes up people. I was reaching the public. I think on my Facebook, 59 million people watched my videos in 4 weeks. They don't want that. And I had the ability, and if I still had that ability now, I'd have walked this election. But what they've done is remove my ability completely, and it's government-led. Tom Watson from the Labour Party was the last person who got me removed from YouTube. YouTube actually come out and said he hasn't broke any of our rules. But then after government pressure, they removed my ability completely to reach the public and talk to them. So I can make videos. I made a video about Oldham, the one that you haven't seen. If I had social media, you'd have seen it. You'd see hundreds of men, say this out loud, hundreds of men wearing balaclavas were marched for 2 miles by the police to a family event where they had rocks and bricks and scissors, you can see the video, and they attacked it. And then the media, rather than say hundreds of Muslims were marched there by the police, the media just run a headline, clashes at Tommy Robinson event as police cars are smashed. They lead the public to believe something's happened that hasn't happened. They don't tell the truth. And that goes for all of your cameras here. You're all completely dishonest. Completely dishonest. And we don't really have, I don't think we even have journalism, because you don't report the facts or the truth. You come with complete attacks. And yeah, so I think that for people who will watch this and learn from it, is that you can't have a fair campaign currently now when the government are interfering with social media companies.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Where can I put that?
Here's the thing.
You're fake news. You're completely fake news.
I'd really be grateful if you'd answer a question.
To Channel 4.
Channel 4
You're the
News,
worst. You are absolutely the worst. You completely lied.
Outside just now, Mr. Robinson, 2 people who were here to support you were giving Nazi salutes.
Of course they were.
Robinson.
Of course they were.
They were.
Of course they were. 2 people who were here to support me. 2 probably paid agitators, which is exactly what we face everywhere we go. So in Channel 4 News, you're the worst for it. In fact, you film certain things with me, and then the headlines you run the complete opposite. So 2 people you've probably set up, or the establishment have set up.
Do you think we paid people to give Nazi
I think
salutes outside?
Sorry, the media.
Thank you.
On this point, thank you.
So you just saw, as soon as Tommy walked in, the media swarmed him. They are attracted to him like no one else, because this is how they get stories. They make up lies, they slander him, and it's for the clicks. They don't care about actually reporting the facts. The one reporter there was pretending she's never seen the video from Oldham. We've all seen it. I was actually there myself. I made a video on it. So we are standing by. Results should be coming in the next 20 minutes or so.
Jessica left with Tommy. Not only was it great to watch him walk in, to chants and friends welcoming him, but to listen to that scrum. I thought he did a great job there. Of course, you and I heard him tell us those same things half an hour earlier. I have to tell you, though, my favorite moment was not when he was talking to the BBC, and he gave her a lot of, he dealt with her with good respect. But when Channel 4 asked him for a comment, he called them fake news. You must admit that was just wonderful. Well, let me say this to our control center back in Canada. Stay in touch with Jessica. It looked like Tommy, you could see the room there. There was this huge cavernous hall at the Manchester Convention Center, but you saw very strict security. They even did metal detectors, as you saw, as Tommy and his staff walked in. I don't know if they metal detected Jessica. I didn't see that. A huge hall, maybe only about 100 chairs in it. Like, it's not an event open to the public. My understanding of that event is it is a counting and verification event. So it's only a small group of candidates, and as you can see, some media who pre-registered, as Jessica did. So that's why she's in there. I'm glad that we're at our base camp here, and I would say to our Canadian control room, stay in touch with Jessica. If Tommy does something, if he goes out into the crowd again, or
And I
if
was
there's an
actually there
announcement
myself. I made
cut into my earpiece, because we'll want to take that live. I thought that was actually very exciting TV. And it was sort of from Tommy's point of view. It was like a not quite a bird's eye view, but it was a snapshot of a moment in the life of Tommy. You saw the fans outside, some hugs, some cheers, and then just a pack of jackals. The BBC's questions, I'd call them fair enough. But of course, it's not the questions that matter. It's what they leave on the editing room floor and what they put to ear. I thought Tommy was quite compelling in his arguments. Would you like to make a small wager with me that none of Tommy's compelling answers to those questions will make it to airtime? They'll throw it in the, what do they call it in Orwell's 1984? They'll throw it down the memory hole. That's the word. All right, well, let's take a moment and catch up on some super chats that came through in the meantime. Burrowing Bunny, £10. This isn't the first donation and is by no means the last. God go with you, Tommy Robinson. Thank you. Nicholas 3, love you, Tommy. Thank you. Christina Hine, Ezra, Jessica, you rock. Thank you for reporting the truth. Good luck, Tommy. Don't be downhearted. Remember, it is not over until the fat lady sings. Justin in Toronto, if you want to send me an email with any more super chats that I've missed. And of course, stay in touch with Jessica. Again, just doing outstanding right there. Wasn't that exciting? Wasn't that exciting? I don't think, by the way, that those other cameras were rolling it live, because they would never roll with Tommy Robinson live. Why? Because then they couldn't edit him out. So I think what you just saw there on our little homemade live stream with Jessica streaming from her phone and us grabbing that and putting it on the YouTube. I mean, you got to admit, it's sort of a miracle what citizen journalism can do in 2019. Thank you, Toronto, for sending me these super chats that I missed. Mr. Oswillow, I guess that means Australia, because it's $15 Australian. Keep fighting the good fight, Ezra. Well, thank you. We'll do our best. Micheline Book, I think I read that one already. Christina Hine, yeah, I think I've caught up on those ones. Oh, here's another one. Think I have caught up on the super chats, and if I haven't, Toronto, feel free to send me some more. All right, well, let's check the time. It is 10:17, and while we were playing that very interesting live footage from Jessica's phone, I was looking at a few other reports. I was poking around the internet, and it looks like the Brexit Party is the story of the evening. Nigel Farage roaring back. Nigel, of course, used to be the leader of the UKIP party and led that party to a referendum victory in the year 2016. But it has been more than 1,000 days, and the Conservative Party, which claimed to want to honor that referendum, indeed called the referendum, has done everything they can not to honor the referendum. And so it was fitting that Theresa May resigned in disgrace this week, and Nigel Farage roaring back with the Brexit Party, clearly in the lead, including in neighborhoods where it used to be Labour. I'm just seeing, for example, in Leeds, the Brexit Party has taken Leeds with almost 30% of the vote. Labour back underneath 20%, the Lib Dems around 20%. Here's what's so encouraging to me. is how the morally vacant, vacillating betrayers of the Conservative Party have been slaughtered. Just again, going from this one report in Leeds, the Conservative Party came in fourth with 6.9%. The Green Party got more votes than the Conservatives. What a fitting rebuke. And you know what? I'd like to, I think it was Janice Atkinson, the outgoing member of the European Parliament who was elected as a UKIPper last time. I think she's the one who told me, you want a second referendum? All right, you got it. It's this election. All these bitter Remainers who refused to accept the results of the Brexit in 2016, and they said, well, we'll just keep asking the question again until we get the answer we want. It's not how it works in a democracy. But how incredible that tonight truly is a second referendum on Brexit, and the Brexit Party slaughtering the Conservatives and doing a number on Labour too, because of course a lot of Labour voters, and I mean real working class Brits, I don't mean activists who sit in cafes and eat vegetarian salads and just activist, feminist, radical, who think Venezuela and Palestine are the top issue. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about actual working men and women who live in the council estates, as Tommy points out. They're not pro-EU. The Labour Party of Jeremy Corbyn is not the Labour Party as it was a generation ago. I guess that's fairly obvious. I haven't seen the stats of how UKIP has done. Of course, UKIP was the party, I would say abandoned by Nigel Farage. And fair enough, Nigel thought his work was done. He didn't think that the Remainers would try to undermine that result. Gerard Batten saved the party from bankruptcy and slowly and solidly rebuilt it. And he took a shine to Tommy Robinson, appointed Tommy as one of his advisors, and recruited some colorful characters from social media to run as candidates, including Count Dankula, otherwise known as Mark Meakin, and Sargon of Akkad, otherwise known as Carl Benjamin. I don't have the stats on how UKIP is doing. I wonder how much of their brand equity, as they say, held firm, and people just love the UKIP name and the UKIP history, and how many of those UKIPers went over to the Brexit Party. I don't know. One thing that Tommy said on the campaign trail was that Nigel has been outstanding on Brexit, but he has avoided other issues, including issues of Muslim grooming gangs, for example. And I know why. It's not hard to guess why, because he doesn't want to be deplatformed and marginalized and depersoned as Tommy himself has been. And I think Brexit is an extremely important thing that must be achieved. But that is not the only issue in the country of the United Kingdom. Let me just check with Toronto. Feel free to give me an update in my ear. Do we have any news from Jessica? Because I was so grateful to have that live stream for 5 minutes there, and I think a lot of people were very curious to see that. Will you give me a warning if... Go ahead. Okay. Yeah, so stay in. Perfect. I'm just hearing my ear that our control room is in touch with Jessica, and there's nothing right now, but as soon as she's ready to go live, we will have that feed. So Justin in Toronto, if you can give me even a 5-second advance notice, I'll tell people what we're doing. So stay in constant touch with Jessica, because she's obviously where the breaking news will be when it breaks. And frankly, you can go back to her if she just wants to give us a bit of an update. If there's any, I'm curious what's going on in that room. It's 10:23 here in Manchester, and I know that the counting was done at various times in the 39 various regions. So I'm actually curious, Toronto, what is happening in that room now? It looked like a lot of waiting and a lot of milling around. It was a huge cavernous convention center, but it was not full of chairs. It looked like maybe there was 100 or 200 chairs and maybe 50 people in there, including about 10 journalists. Justin, can you ask Jessica if she'd be willing to live stream maybe a 2-minute situation report, a status report? I'm just so curious because I was riveted by that scrum, and I'm sure our viewers were too. So Justin, maybe you can let her know and then report back to me in my ear, and then we can go live with that. All right, let's take a few more super chats. And then I'm going to play for you. And Justin, I'm giving you one more errand here. You're why I just told you to reach out to Jessica. That Tommy ad. I'm calling it an ad, but I thought it was a summary of the campaign. And it was, I think it was in Salford. I think it was the second last day of the campaign. There was that marriage proposal. There was that fella talking about his mom would kick him out of the house. Let's take a minute. I want to play for you. It's a 6-minute clip. All right. So it's a long video. I'm not even going to call it a campaign ad. I'm going to call it an emotional summary of sights and sounds and quirky events and heartbreaking events and hopeful events. I'm hearing in my ear Jessica's ready in 1 minute, so we'll press hold on the video and we'll stand by for Jessica because I'm very eager to hear what she's up to. So yeah, I was going to play that 6-minute video, but I'm more interested in what Jessica has to hear. So we'll defer that video for a second. So Justin, give me 5 seconds warning. And while we're waiting for Jessica, I'm just going to read some super chats. Mark Percival, £20. Thank you very much. By the way, the super chats, what they do is they put your comments in a bright highlight and they append them to the top of the box, as you can see there. So what the good news about that is that Google shares 70% of the revenues with us, which go help pay our bills. As we know, unlike the BBC, we get no government money. We would never take it because we would be under their thumb if we did. And unlike Channel 4, ITV, Sky, we are not beholden to any corporate interest. We're 100% viewer supported, which is why we can call it like it is. We can tell the other side of the story, and no one can call up my boss and say, you stop covering Tommy, because we have thousands of bosses. They're called our viewers. And anyways, that's one of the great things about being independent. The downside of being independent is you have to rely on thousands of individual gifts. The great news is that you folks seem to be willing to support us so far. Mark Percival, £20. Thank you for that. Teresa Swan, £9.99. Nicolais, 3. I've already read yours, but thank you again. I'm just going to stand by a little bit until we get Jessica on the line. I'm going to read some other comments. James, there we go, from New Zealand. Robert W., 55 New Zealand dollars. Number 1, if Tommy wins, I will fly from New Zealand to his celebrations. Wow, that is a long trip. Number 2, keep supporting the victims of child grooming gangs, and I promise I will keep supporting Tommy with my monthly donations. 3, CSE is 95% of why I support TR. Oh, here we go. Jessica, stand by. Here's Jessica with a live broadcast. Here we go, people.
So results are trickling in. You see everybody is standing by. Already the Brexit Party has been clapping. I got word that Tommy Robinson has received just less than 40,000 votes. It's not looking good for him at this moment. We're standing by.
I'm going to give it the big kiss. What is the barrage?
Walking around, the thing that I notice is the snickers. The snickers, people are giggling and laughing. The fact that they know or believe that Tommy's going to lose or has lost. These people, they hate him. It's kind of unreal why they hate him so much. Everyone, I'm walking by and I hear people whispering about Rebel Media and about Tommy Robinson and how everyone is so happy that he's losing. This is supposed to be the independent press. It is very quiet here, so I am trying to keep it down. So forgive me if it's a little hard to hear.
Well, there you have it, Jessica, with an update from inside the counting room and a somber feeling. It sounds like Tommy Robinson has secured 40,000 votes, which will surely not be enough to win. My studies of Northwest England in 2014 and 2009, the last two elections, were that to win, you needed about 8 or 9% of the vote. In the last two elections, that would have been 160 or 170,000. So 40,000 votes would not be enough. You would probably need closer to 200,000. I predict, I don't have the stats in front of me, that there will be about 2 million votes cast altogether. And so 40,000 would only indicate 2 or 3%. Obviously, I'm disappointed in that, but it is true. If you take away Facebook, Twitter, PayPal, Stripe, if you take away the Royal Mail, if you take away any means to get your message out other than going door to door, door knocking and handshaking, how can you possibly combat a wall of the 5P professionals, the press, the politicians, the police, the prosecutors, the professors? One man, even with the energy and stubbornness of Tommy Robinson, cannot overcome all of that. Do you think that Jeremy Corbyn, do you think that Nigel Farage could exist without social media? Of course not. I say again, before he was deplatformed, Tommy Robinson had either the largest or the third largest social media presence of any political leader in the UK, depending on how you measure, if it's just raw numbers or terms of engagement. We know that. That's precisely why he was arrested outside the Leeds County Court last year, not because of what he was saying, but because so many people were listening. I'm disappointed in the result. I had held out hope that he would win, but hope doesn't make up for a lack of Twitter. Hope doesn't make up for Facebook. My last question to Tommy before he left here, perhaps you recall it, I said, is this some sort of test case? Is this a premonition of what could or will happen to Donald Trump in the United States with social media censorship? And the answer is obviously yes. Tommy Robinson, who had 1 million fans on Facebook, now they can't hear about him. Tommy, who had one of the biggest pages on YouTube, now he's extremely throttled and limited. As Tommy said in the scrum to the BBC, he was not kicked off for breaking any rules. They specifically said he didn't break any rules. They were reacting to political pressure. And so I'm not sure of the geographic breakdown of who's watching this show right now. It's 10:33 here in Manchester, so it's, if my math is right, it's 5:33 on the East Coast of the United States. So maybe there's as many Americans and Canadians watching as there are Brits. But the lights are going out across the UK. I felt this way before. I felt this when Tommy was thrown in prison to begin with. I felt this as they slowly tightened the political and legal noose around him. I felt that way as he was deplatformed on social media, but this was the first instance of overt social media interference in an election campaign. I know that in the Democrat media narrative. In 2016, the Russians totally meddled in the American election. But according to Facebook itself, the total expenditure by Russian agents on Facebook in the 2016 election was a couple $100,000. It was nothing in a, $2 billion, next to the $2 billion spent by the Hillary campaign and nearly $1 billion spent by Trump. It's a laugh to say there was Russian interference, and of course Robert Mueller's inquiry proves that to be the case. But was there a larger factor in this race in Northwest England than social media interference? If you take a candidate off Facebook, Twitter, PayPal, Stripe, and all those other systems, and if the Royal Mail, which is what they call the post office here in the UK, which has a legal obligation to deliver the mail if they simply refuse to, if they're labor-oriented labor unions, the Labor Party-oriented unions simply refuse to deliver his pamphlets, how can you win? I mean, I use the phrase, it's like a laryngectomy. It's like debarking a watchdog. The watchdog needs its voice to be on guard, a guard dog, a watchdog. If you debark the watchdog, all he can do is watch. He can't guard, can he? I'm worried that that's what they've done to Tommy. And here's what's worrying. I mean, of course, these left-wing social media companies headquartered in San Francisco, the most liberal city in America, the most left-wing city in America, of course they're going to be anti-Tommy. Of course they're going to be anti-Trump. Of course it's in, leopard, and their spots, that's who they are. They will do what they will do. But the fact that not one civil society group, not one political force in the United Kingdom finds it worrisome, not one civil libertarian. Where's PEN International? Where's Reporters Without Borders? Where are the civil liberties groups? They don't care. Actually, let me take that back. They care. They support it. They support the censorship of Tommy because they don't like him. And they never really supported free speech other than their own free speech. What's troubling to me is not that these social media companies are doing what we knew they would do. What's troubling is that they're getting away with it so completely. And so what I would ask my friends, especially in the United States, do you think they're not going to do that there? Do you think they're not going to start picking off candidates, probably starting with the independents, probably starting with those who are out there, like the American versions of Tommy? Do you think they're not going to do that there in the United States? Do you think they're not going to do that in Canada? Do you think they're not doing that? I mean, they didn't stop Marine Le Pen tonight in France. Do you think they're not going to try and do that to Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil, to Matteo Salvini in Italy, to Sebastian Kurz in Austria, to Viktor Orban in Hungary, to Bibi Netanyahu in Israel? Because they've just tested it out with Tommy, and it worked, didn't it? And it worked not just in that they debarked him, but it worked in that the guardians who were supposed to be on the lookout, they didn't. There's a phrase in Latin, quis custodiet ipsos custodes. My Latin's terrible. I don't even know if that's the right accent. It means who's watching the watchman. Or as Morrissey would say, lifeguard sleeping, girl drowning. I say Morrissey because, of course, he dared to say a few positive things about a national party called the For Britain Party, led by Anne-Marie Waters. He wore a little For Britain lapel pin, and now there's record shops that are banning his songs, train stations that are banning his posters, his concerts are being protested. A pop star, a rock star who, I mean, aren't they allowed to talk? Isn't that sort of half of what being a rock star is? Have opinions on things? And he's not even deep into it. He's just saying, I find it interesting, or I think we should have another point of view. And he's been thrown overboard as well. That's my point. I find it very depressing. I don't know what the remedy is. You're not going to find a remedy from the Brexit Party. Oh, Jessica's going live. I'm hearing that Jessica's about to go live. Is that right? Okay. So I'm going to stand by. I was sorry I was riffing on Trump. Toronto, feel free to cut in with Jessica anytime. She's ready because I'm curious to see what's going on. I'm based here. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, sorry about that, folks. It was only about 5 seconds there. Bit of a false alarm. But if there's more, we will come back there. They looked like there was some movement. And we'll come back to you as soon as we hear more from Jessica there at the command post.
Word
who's going to reestablish a connection with Toronto here. I've got a lot of things going on. I've got 3 computer monitors here. I've got a connection in my ear back to headquarters in Toronto. Justin, if you could take me off reverb, thanks. And so there's a lot of moving parts here. Well, we will go back to Jessica because I thought her coverage of the scrum was very interesting. I want to see when the official announcement is made, and we were told to expect that official announcement at about 11, and it's 10:40 here in Manchester now. Going back to what Jessica said in her last little update, she talked about the snickering about Tommy and Rebel Media. And I suppose that was sort of my last point about that no politician seemed to care. See, I've watched the slow encroachment of this censorship in the United States. First they went after Milo Yiannopoulos because he's just a wild child. And then they went after Alex Jones of InfoWars because he had conspiracy theories. Oh, what's that? Here we go.
Tommy.
An election next.
Thanks for trying for us, darling.
Cheers, man. Thanks.
Thanks for trying, Tommy.
Yeah, thank you always.
Tommy,
It's just a start.
Tommy, this the vote was ethics. You tried. Fucking fix. There's no way you only got fixed. There's no way. No way. He's about to stage this.
I can have 25 venues, didn't he?
You missed Matthew Collins. Yeah, go on, mate. And then I've got to quickly go for my interview with Ezra.
We do love the old Tommy. Keep going, darling. Thanks for everything.
Ready? We'll just walk there, innit?
See you later, Danny.
Yeah, see you later, darling. Got all them sneaking out. Yeah, give it out. Give it out.
Tommy! Tommy Robinson! Oh, Tommy Robinson! Oh, Tommy Robinson! Take your two right. We love you, Tommy. We love you, Tommy. We do. We love you, Tommy. We do. We love you, Tommy. We do. Oh, Tommy, we love you. We love you, Tommy. We do. We love you, Tommy. We do. We love you, Tommy. We do. Oh, Tommy, we love you.
So you see the crowd of supporters for Tommy waiting outside to hear the results. There is no other candidate with this kind of support. If it was a fair election, if Tommy wasn't restricted and banned and silenced by social media and lied to from the mainstream media, the chances would have been completely different. But just this alone, you see this is a crowd of people singing and so happy, and they're grateful that he tried. They're grateful that he's sticking up for them and for the working class and for average people here. They might follow us the whole way.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Hello. So we're walking back now, back to our little studio where Ezra's waiting for us. So stay tuned. Ezra, we'll see you soon. We'll sit down with Tommy. Tommy, first thoughts.
Can I get audio?
Oh.
Oh, mate. You know
But
what?
he's still smiling.
I'm still smiling.
Go on, Tommy.
How you doing, mate? You alright? Oh, yeah. I can't. You got when we got out of the taxi, just everywhere we go, even the other lads there who aren't our supporters. I just think, how can that only account to 40,000? It can't. It can't. You've seen the support everywhere you go. It can't. It can't. Not that I'm a bit of a loser, but you know, if I lost on a fair playing field, I think, all right, I'll take that. I'll swallow that. But when you're up against, and when you have certain rules that everyone can spend the same. But there's taxi. Yeah, go on. That everyone can spend the same, and that's for a reason that it's fair. But yet, then others can use social media to reach the public, and others can't talk to them. Ring the number. Well, is there a number on it? I've got the battery.
Well, we'll be back with Ezra, with
around.
Tommy, and we'll see you soon.
Well, that's disappointing. And I have to say, our dear friend Jessica, a student journalist from Toronto, we threw her in the deep end a few weeks ago covering Tommy's campaign. She did such a good job. Obviously, her heart is in it because I can't lie, she looks somewhat crestfallen. And I think that just goes to her heart. She said you got such a big heart, and she saw town by town the support for Tommy. You know, when she says, look at this support, the other candidates don't have it. Obviously, my first thought was, well, other candidates obviously got the votes. But I think she's talking about that personal, deep affection that would cause candidates to stand outside on the cold street in Manchester waiting for Tommy just to give him a hug and a cheer and to chant for him. That's the personal affection. I've seen it myself as I've traveled around the UK with Tommy. It's a personal connection. And what is that? I mean, with other politicians, people say, right on, I support your party. But with Tommy, it's something different because they know he's a voice for this forgotten man. When I quoted Morrissey earlier, Lifeguard, Sleeping Girl Drowning, if you know that song by Moz, there's a line in it, oh, she was nobody's nothing, the girl who drowned. And in so many of these council estates, in so many of these towns, the 1,400 raped girls in Rotherham and those who were raped in the Huddersfield rape gang that Tommy was thrown in prison for reporting on, they're treated as nobody's nothings, aren't they? But Tommy goes there. I mean, I didn't know what the word council flats meant until this election. In the United States, those would be called housing projects. Subsidized housing. I think that's what it means. It's where the working class people are. And politicians normally don't go there. But Tommy did, and he met with them, and he treated them with respect, and he looked them in the eye. And he had a statistic that he quoted, and if I recall it, it's that of all the MPs in the House of Commons here, including in the Labour Party, although they claim to speak for working men and women, only 4% of the MPs in Parliament are actually working class. The rest only claim to be. And so while we're waiting for Jessica and Tommy to return here, perhaps we can go to what I was going to show you before we cut off for Jessica's very interesting videos. And this is a video that sums up to me the connection Tommy has with the forgotten people, with the nobodies, nothings. And this is an illustration of how and why he is beloved, and I've seen it with my own eyes. So here, Justin in Toronto, if you've got that video, I think you know the one I mean.
Not that I'm a bit of a loser, but
it's 6.5 minutes.
You know, if I lost on a fair playing field,
Tommy, Jessica to return, and we'll talk with them for a little bit. So here's a video produced by Tommy's team. We're just teeing that up. It's going to take us about another second. I hear in my ear. You know, in Canada and the United States, we don't have the same, you know, working class. It doesn't have the same meaning. Watch this video to understand a little bit about Tommy's appeal and who he stands up for. Take a look.
Let's start off remembering what date it is today, the 22nd of May. My son's birthday today. I'll start off on that one. My son's birthday. Happy birthday, babe. Love you. The 22nd of May is a date that everyone should remember. Lee Rigby was beheaded 6 years ago today. I remember in the weeks afterwards, David Cameron set up a government task force to combat and stop Islamic extremism. He had a 5-year plan. What's happened over those 5 years? 2,000 Muslims have gone out to fight for ISIS. We've seen multiple terrorist attacks. Terrorism arrests go up 60% every year. He's failed. Our government has failed. 2 years ago today, what happened in the beautiful city of Manchester? We witnessed our children attacked. Children from these cities were blown to pieces. People talk about those that died. We talk about the people who died on 7/7. 700 people lost their limbs on 7/7. Even the people that didn't die, their lives will change forever in attacks against our country. So we just start off with a minute of silence, remembering all the victims. During the minute of silence, I heard their screams. I heard their screams of never again, never again. Never again, never again. They're on about the Holocaust. The visible Jews over here are standing with us. The Jews don't stand with Labour anymore. You're anti-Semitic. It's you that's anti-Semitic. I'm a proud. They're shouting never again. The Star of David flies in our clouds. There's no Star of David flying in yours. We are the proud. We're proudly Sound of Israel. When we win tomorrow, with your help, we send a message to working class people across this country that we can do it, that it's on, that the time is now, that this is our moment. Let the 23rd of May be remembered as the date it started. Let the British public know it started in the northwest, and let them know that Salford was involved. It's happening. It's happening. It's in our DNA. It's who we are. We need to wake up as people and realise who we are. Remember our history. Remember who we are. Every one of you standing here, I know you're risking something being here. I know you've come out, you've made a commitment. There's one lad who's here today. There's one lad, and this is a perfect example of it. And we ask him to come up. Because my mum sends me videos, and she absolutely loves this lad's videos. This lad has been following me, and he's found his he's had problems at home, problems at work. Somebody kicked out of his house if he comes to one of my demonstrations. I know there's so many of you out there who have social problems for supporting me. So Matthew, get up here, because this is for my mum anyway. Come on, please. Come on, come on. For too long, I have sat in fear in my own home. What will happen to me if I decide to attack this guy's life? I was constantly calling my sister and my mother that I would do these rallies. I have been kicked out, but I'm president. I feel like we're on the verge of something big. I say that because I travel this country, and I can tell you, that is the minority, this is the majority, yeah? I'm telling you. Tomorrow, come on! It's about time the people in this country let them know how you're feeling. It's no good shouting at the TV. It's no good moaning in the pub. This is your moment. It's your moment to send every single one of them a message. Send the government a message. Send the media a message. Send them all a message. Tell them tomorrow you stand on the side of freedom, you stand on the side of truth, and you stand on the side of Tommy Robinson. Come on!
Wow.
Welcome back. What do you think of that video? I tell you, and those bagpipes in the background, just very subtle bagpipes. I found that very emotionally evocative. And I've been with Tommy. I haven't been with him on this campaign trail, of course. I've been busy in Canada. But Jessica was out there. Excuse me. That's really what it's like. People coming up to him. I thought that marriage proposal was just very, unusual. I wouldn't have guessed. And that young lad who said, my mom and my sister kicked me out of the house, and I don't care. That made me chuckle a little bit. As you can see, some of the results on the screen by popular vote, the Brexit Party just crushing it. As you know, they have that unusual election vote counting system here. I'm not going to try and explain it. It's called the D'Hondt method. Sounds like, well, it's a little bit complicated and mathematical, but basically, in these regions, like the 8 MEPs in Northwest England, you take the first party that has the most wins and you give them 1 seat. Then you cut their vote in half and see who has the next most. Now, that could be the same first party, Brexit, for example. Then you cut it down by 2/3 and see who is next, and you just keep apportioning the remaining votes until you've filled all 8 slots. It has definitely been a Brexit night. I was just looking at social media while we were playing that Tommy clip, and I see that Brexit has just crushed it in Sunderland, which is right near Newcastle. I've been to Sunderland a number of times. That's where Chelsea Wright is and John Fletcher. We had a number of campaigns there when Tommy was working for the Rebel. It's a very Labour town, or at least it used to be. Now it's a Brexit town. Labour has, I think, been schizophrenic on leave and remain in Brexit. I think that their heart is with big government, globalism, open immigration, extremism, but their working class roots are leave. So it's interesting to me to see Brexit eat some of the lunch of the Labour Party. I noticed that Corbyn didn't even win his own borough. I thought that was very interesting. I think Jessica and Tommy on their way back here, but why don't I take a moment to read some super chats, because some very nice super chats came in. I'm actually going to read them from my phone because Justin in Canada sent me some of them, so they're all on my phone here. Kidoki. You know what? I'm not sure if they're coming through clearly. Oh, we go. Here we go. There's a lot of things going on my phone right now. Nicholas 3 chips in £99. Love Tommy and Ezra. Shout out for my old Bailey Super Tommy fans, Carol, Paul, and Greg. Love Nick. Thank you. Observer Dude, £5. I've heard if you voted Tommy, they'll rub out the X and tick their own vote. Wouldn't shock me. Wouldn't shock me at all. I mean, listen, if they'll arrest a man and falsely throw him in prison in solitary confinement for 10 weeks, why do you think they wouldn't rub out an X when the ballots are held in private for 3 days? Barb Harris, $50. Tommy would have had my vote. Yeah, it's the thing. Tommy is a global force. He was running in a particular geography, but his support is nationwide and around the world. William Lindberg, 50 Norwegian kroner. Thank you. After all Tommy's been through, would not surprise me if they destroyed the votes. Well, if you throw a man in prison falsely, as the Court of Appeal said, what else would you do? We saw how the police were extremely political in the campaign. If the police would do that, well, who wouldn't? You heard Jessica report on the snickering of the treatment of Tommy and the snickering of Tommy, snickering towards the Rebel. Tommy has no allies. Brexit is outstanding. The Brexit Party is outstanding on the issue of Brexit. And I salute Nigel Farage for that, and I think Tommy does too. But don't think for a second that they want Tommy to get votes. Oz Tussell says, hi, Tommy, you're not losing. For the first time ever, you can document that you represent 40,000 plus people. That's powerful. Don't forget to remind MSN about this fact. No journalist in the UK can speak for 40,000 people, but you can. Well, 40,000 in this district, right? I mean, there's a number of regions in the UK. Vito Russo says, all Americans and Canadians dump mainstream social media. Join the revolution on Telegram app. Tommy Robinson talk, the front lines of the movement. This is only the start. Well, that's a very good point, because the one social medium that has not yet deplatformed Tommy is called Telegram, just like the old-fashioned telegram. And I think last I checked, Tommy, it's about 40,000 followers there. It's a very lively thing. I like it. And they say they're very much against deplatforming. They say unless someone's committing a crime, they're not going to censor anyone. And last I heard, they have 200 million users. So it's a real deal. Angela B says, patriotic Americans are so proud of Tommy for fighting the good fight. I think you're right. CO says, on behalf of all non-brainwashed citizens of the world, we are so proud of you, Tommy, as this is a pivotal moment in history. Not proud to be Canadian anymore, but rebel. I feel proud today. Thanks for your exposure of corruption. Well, thank you very much for that. I think I've caught up on most of the super chats. Let's see. Disciple Ost says, much love from Australia, Tommy. Vicious Victor T says, Britain needs Batman. Excuse me. Jason Cullen says, 40,000, rigged. Vegan Love, $21. Thank you. Barb Harris, thank you. I've read yours. I think I've caught up. Justin, send me any ones that I've missed, if I've missed them. All right. Well, Ed, you keep me posted, and Justin, you keep me posted when we know when Jessica and Tommy are about to return. It is 11:01 p.m. here in Manchester. It's 5 hours earlier on the East Coast, so I think that means it's 6 p.m. When Tommy and Jessica come back in, I see them walk in right now. Tommy and Jessica, come on in. I was just saying your names. Have a sip of water, and I'm going to move out of the center chair, and I'll let Tommy come back in the center chair. Jessica, have a seat there, and I'll move over here, and let's hear from the man and the woman of the hour themselves. Well, let's all crowd together and get friendly here. Now, first of all, Jessica, I want to thank you for that great on-the-spot reporting. It's sort of a technological miracle that you were out there on your phone, and we grabbed that live feed and we pumped it right here. So everything you saw, we saw too. I thought
when they were all interviewing me.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I thought that was great. It was very exciting. And as I said to our viewers, we sort of had the same comments from you directly in advance. So we heard that, but you just laid it on them. I think we were the only people who were running with that live. They were probably just recording that.
It looked like it, yeah. It was insane. As soon as you walked in, it just swarmed you. They are so fascinated by Tommy Robinson.
Let's just scooch over a little bit.
Yeah.
Should we give them a headline?
What's the headline? What do you mean?
I'm restarting the EDL, and the first place we're going is Oldham.
Well, you know what? Well, that group called themselves the Muslim Defense League. The funny thing is, you know what? It was interesting when you talked to that BBC reporter. It was like she had no idea what had gone on in Oldham. She knew, but she just was playing dumb, or she was just suppressing that info.
I'd say that this is censorship 1, democracy 0. That's it. This is a very clear evidence of the power of their censorship. I went the whole way through this and I bigged it up, but realizing your ability to reach people, which is what you have as an electoral candidate, you have to be able to talk to the public. My ability to talk to the public, 0, gone. Okay, removed. My ability for the members of the public to talk about me, gone. My ability to then you look at the other options, I think, right, let's send them all a leaflet. Royal Mail will interfere with that. Their unions encourage their employees not to send them. They dump them. We know this. This is evident. This is factual. So then you don't have that ability. So then the other ability is you go door stopping or you go into communities. When you're threatened with murder, it's pretty hard. Thanks to you kept me alive. I was able to hire proper security. But even then, when you go in, the spin the media put on it when people come out to attack you, you're fighting. I realised very early on, I thought, the battle you're fighting here, you're not even able to reach or talk to the members of the public. You can't do it. It's impossible. For me, I want to say again to anyone who supported this campaign, if nothing else, I've had a brilliant month. I know I've been away. Sorry, babe. My wife sat over there. I missed you like mad. I'm gutted. I'll never do it again, Jen. Not. It's going to happen again. We're coming back. No, there's only one option, and that option is every time you go. I said sometimes I've needed a break. Before this campaign, I needed a break, and it was time. Then time to fight. So I already know. I think the movement's there. The public support's there. You've just seen it, even just when we got out of the car, when we walked through town. I've had 4 or 5 different people in a short road. Go on, Tommy, we support you. What? Wow! Either you're not voting, or they're messing with your votes.
You know, we ran that live as well. That was interesting to see. I'm just going to move the mics around here because I sort of rearranged things when you guys left. Put that back there. Now, Jessica, I want to ask you a question because I heard you comment, and I'll admit you looked a little bit sad when you said there were snickers and mockery, not just of Tommy. And listen, I understand the banter and the rivalry between candidates. I mean, feeling goes both ways, I'm sure. But the fact that it sounds to me, what I picked up from your comment there, and I have to say you look a little sad, and I can understand, I am too. But what I picked up from you is that those people don't understand that Alex Jones is censored one day, Tommy is censored the next day, Paul Joseph Watson censored the next day. They milkshake Tommy one day, they milkshake Nigel the next day. Don't they understand that the deplatforming, the censorship that hits this fella could hit anyone else, and they shouldn't cheer when their opponent is silenced, because free speech is one of those gifts you have to give to your opponent if you want it for yourself. That's what I sensed when you said those words.
Well, yeah, it was sad because people were happy about it. People were like cheering about the fact that he lost, and it's like they're ignoring the pattern that, yeah, Alex Jones and then the next person, and then all of a sudden one day there's another bunch of conservatives. They think they're immune because they're mainstream media as of now.
Tommy, I thought you had a chance because I saw the energy in the crowds and we played some of your videos. But you're right. If you debark a dog, if you give a laryngectomy to a watchdog, he can watch, but he can't bark. You know what I mean? You're like a watchdog, a guard dog, and they silenced your voice. So you're like, and no one can hear the alarm.
If I lost a fair fight, if I lost a fight, you lost the fight. Huh? But if you lost a fight that's not fair, that's and that's what this was. So it is hard to swallow, because I think there's the rules and the laws are that everything's equal. The reason you can spend the same amount, all these laws in the Electoral Commission are so that the playing fields are equal in a campaign. Playing fields not just equal, not just unfair when you've got every other candidate I'm up against can use social media, but they can promote themselves from social media. They can use advertising campaigns to promote themselves. But people were specifically in organisations, left-wing funded globalist organisations, were specifically using social media to attack, slander, lie and demonise about me. And I have no platform to counter that. And as we go through the years, as we go through the years, that ability on them is going to get stronger, which is why people like Donald Trump and someone has to stand up to big tech, because it's now creating completely unfair playing fields in the electoral process, which is it's supposed to be fair. And I don't know. I'm gutted not for myself. I'm gutted for my movement of people, and we got out into estates and felt so much love. And I see the support, and I've been saying to people, I still say it, even just walking through the city, I see the support. Everywhere I go, I see the support. It's getting them involved in politics, which was always going to be difficult.
You know, I was remarking while you and Jessica were walking back here, PEN International, that's a free speech anti-censorship group. Reporters Without Borders, Civil Liberties Associations, all of these groups, Amnesty International. I remember when you were thrown in prison for contempt of court, and a lot of people wrote to Amnesty, and they copied me on their letters and on their replies. And Amnesty said, "Oh, well, he was in violation of contempt of court. That's not what we care about." Well, when the Court of Appeal said you were improperly convicted, Amnesty didn't say, "Oh, well, we better correct the record." All these so-called civil liberties groups, civil rights groups, none of them have made a peep about you being silenced in any way. I think that's a problem.
Say hello.
Well, there's your young and
all right, son. Sorry, guy.
Tommy's got a live stream within a live stream.
How you doing, babe?
Of his little one.
I'm sorry, but I lost, babes.
I know.
Well, keep fighting, mate. Keep fighting. Hey?
I tell you,
what?
Tommy's kids are so cute. I wish we could show you how cute they were, but of course,
he just ran into the lounge on TV and he looked at it and just goes, "Look, it's me, it's me." He just ran in.
Well, I wish I could show you his family, but
I love you, son. Yeah.
The hostility of the left won't permit it. And
see you later, babe. I love you. Bye bye. Sorry about that, Ace.
No problem, Tommy. It was great. I was just saying that, I wish, I've had the pleasure of meeting your lovely family, and I always joke, and it's only a half joke. How did you deserve such a lovely family, Tommy? I'm kidding around. But I wish we could show people how wonderful your family is. I think one's family is a reflection of oneself, and your family is so wonderful. But I know we can't ever show them in public because the left wing is so full of rage and hatred. They would actually wish it for harm to come to your family.
They do. We know, well, I know they do. We know they do. Just, I didn't want to be. I didn't want my supporters to be deflated. Now, because more than anything, because as I said, I see the support everywhere we go. It's now on a positive. I've had knockbacks throughout the years. This is the least of them. Trust me, I've been in some bad situations. This is certainly not the worst. So I'm planning to move forward. Got a court case on the 4th of July. We've got to fight that again, and just keep fighting. Keep fighting, and really now sit down and work out how best to attack the social media, because that really is going to affect us. It's going to affect us all.
Jessica, what do you think? You had an interesting experience there. Tommy was a polarizing figure, but it sounds like people identified you with the rebel. It sounds. Did I hear you correctly when you said that? Tell me what your thoughts are. I thought your coverage of the campaign was straightforward and fair, just asking who, what, why, where, when type questions. What are your thoughts on the UK media? I have my thoughts, and I've been sharing them for 2 years now. What do you think after a few weeks here in country?
Well, with the way the mainstream media has covered Tommy specifically, it's made my job easy in a way because I just show up, I capture what's going on, and I report the truth. That makes it easy on my part. And it's funny because there was at one of the rallies, there was hundreds of people there for Tommy, and there was one reporter from the local paper, and there were 2 lone protesters with their signs, and she spent the entire time talking to those protesters. I didn't see her going around talking to the supporters, because when you do talk to the supporters, they have a lot to say. Yeah. They have a lot to say compared to when you go speak to a protester and you ask them simply why. They just start calling names and they don't have anything to say. So I'm surprised that she spent so much time with them.
That's very interesting. Tommy, I've just got in my hand here a whole bunch of super chats directed to you. Can I whip through these and have you give a quick answer? Okay. Gaming Jesus says, you are the man, Tommy. Never give up. Quick answer.
I'm never giving up. My wife was sorry, babe. She's on their side.
Survivor 71 Abby says, you are out there, Tommy. You've proved to the establishment, your supporters, that you will not be held down. Thank you.
Sorry, I missed that. I was asking my wife for
you proved to the establishment, your supporters, you'll never be held down. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you, every one of you, because even to fight this fight that we've fought, or to continue fighting it, I've needed the support of the people, which I've had. Everywhere I walk, I know I'm not alone. So
I'm just going to bang through some really quick ones. Waski 1, thanks very much, Ezra and Jessica. We love our Tommy. Yvonne Spot says, you're our winner, Tommy, the true king in the North.
Thanks. I've loved being in the North as well. I've loved it. I've loved the Northwest. Absolutely loved it.
Liam Meehan.
Am I moving?
Debbie Shaw, Billa Briggs and Masons run everything are set up. William Lavagna, $2. I am play. Tommy is 100% correct. This is unfair election. It's beginning now. Rhea Hill, Tommy, we donated. We'll be godfather to them. Will you be godfather to them? Not sure what that means.
Tommy, wait, which one?
From Rhea Hill. Tommy, we donated. Will you be godfather to them? I assume they're referring to their own kids?
I'd happily be godfather. Yeah.
William Lavagna, Tommy, you achieved so much. You've made the fake media even more transparent during your campaign. They want you to give up, never back down.
I won't back down. One thing that's clear from this is the Labour Party and the Conservative Party took a right kicking, and that's what they deserve because of Brexit. So it's a positive that's come out of it. I would say is I'd love to sit here and say, right, Brexit Party is brilliant. The Brexit Party is another party. They're great in the European Union, but they won't talk about the issues. They won't talk about Islam. It's another politically correct party. We're not any further in politics or shaking up the political system in this country. It's not like we now have a voice that's going to rock the establishment, that's going to talk about all the issues. One thing is for sure, we set history. We've got the biggest support an independent's ever got. So that's my positive spin on this. And it doesn't end. It doesn't end. And again, we keep fighting. And it's been, if anything, I've had an amazing month. My wife's gone out of the room now, so I've had a brilliant time. It's been absolutely tiring, exhausted. I felt like I hit a brick wall. I felt so run down when I just went home for 3 days, just knackered. But I've had a great time. So thank you to every single person that hugged, kissed me, that shook my hand, that embraced me. Throughout this campaign, it's been so warming for myself. I feel loved.
Well, the thing is, your support, because of the internet, your support is wide. It's in many countries around the world. So to go for a geographic base even Northwest England's a big place, but what, there are 8 regions like that in the UK? So to extrapolate that, I mean, if you ran in any one place, that's going to limit your support. But if you are worldwide, nationwide, worldwide, that's the tricky part, because your fame and your support base is spread out to hope for a political victory in a certain geography. Maybe that was part of the challenge too. I'm just brainstorming.
No, I think it was definitely I do think it was doable with the support. I just think I don't trust any of it either. I don't want to sound like bad. I don't trust it. I don't understand why it has to be used. Pencils have to be used. I don't understand why your votes have to be sat in guarded rooms for 2 days. I don't understand that. I don't understand the logic behind any of it. It makes no sense. Should have had the election today. The election should have been today or last night. I don't know, but I don't trust the establishment at all, as everyone knows. I don't trust the media. I think that considering, again, I've learned a lot as well. I wish that I'd have known that this election campaign was going to be coming on for 6 weeks or a few months beforehand. We just all of a sudden, right, we're doing a campaign. What do we do? Because none of us knew. What do we do? Right, let's go. And we give it. There's one thing I wouldn't, which I explained to my wife. I don't want to go up there and leave anything so that I can think afterwards, well, I should have done this, I should have done that. So I completely threw myself into it. And so did my supporters. And, yeah.
Well, listen, Tommy, a fight well fought. Your first electoral outing, 40,000 plus votes.
I still can't accept that.
Yeah?
I was just telling you, I can't.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, I could do a, if I had my social media, I'd do just people to sign up in the Northwest and get 100,000 out.
Well, there's a lot to digest here, and there's a lot of lessons to be learned, not just in the UK, but back where I'm from, in North America, in Canada, in the United States. There's a lot of things to learn here. What they did to you, the depersoning, the censoring, they will do others. You are a test case. Well, Tommy, thanks for spending so much of the evening with us. Jessica, thanks for doing such a great job these past few weeks. Let's one last your thoughts on the evening, and then I'll give my final word, and we'll give the last word of the night to Tommy. Give your thoughts for. You came here as a student journalist. Mm-hmm. You followed Tommy from afar, but you weren't really deeply into his story. What are your thoughts here after the campaign and tonight's result?
Well, of course, I've seen a lot of news about Tommy in the past. And then meeting Tommy in person and talking to him and not even just like with interviews, but just casually talking, he's a normal person. He's not this monster that the media is trying to make him out to be. He's a regular guy, honest. Regular, as regular as you can get. And it was amazing to see before you got there tonight and when you left, that your supporters were there the whole time. The movement behind you is so strong, and I think you agree. You don't want them to give up. You don't want this movement to end here at just this one election.
It can't end. It can't end here, and it doesn't anyway. And as I said, for anyone feeling deflated, I've felt deflated many times over the last 10 years, and we've always bounced back. And we've bounced back and shocked people and surprised people. So to the opposition, to the left, to the establishment who think, well, that's them beat down, and then bang, we're back. And we'll be coming bang back. So yeah, Well,
that's great. Tommy, thank you. Jessica, thank you. I would just like to say thanks to Ed, who helped us here at our Manchester headquarters. Special thanks to my friends Justin and Martin back in Canada. Yeah, go ahead, Tommy.
Spencer, Macy, get to bed. It's 20 past 11.
Thanks to our Rebel team in 2 continents that put this together. Justin and Martin, thanks for your work back in Canada. And to all of you Rebels around the world who have supported us, who supported Tommy, who supported us tonight through Super Chats, thank you for that. We're certainly not going anywhere. We'll be reporting on things tomorrow. We'll be back here. Jessica and I will be back in the UK on July 4th and 5th to cover Tommy's yet again another contempt hearing at the Old Bailey. Until next time, on behalf of us here at Rebel Media, to you at home, wherever you are around the world, good night, and keep fighting for freedom.
Oh, mate, 40.